And we've come to myself, me, myself, and God, my greatest fans. Stooping low, sitting on the front stoop, my mind stooped low, thinking hard. Is love something you conceive within your mind first, or that thrives within your heart? Is your heart something that thrives on conceived love to be repeatedly broken apart? To love, must you be hurt? To hurt, must you love? Do you suppose? Do you suppose if I died tonight, someone would care in 3 weeks? What would be missed? Would they really miss the true essence of me? Would they cry for the absence of Dawn's life, or the absence of life from Dawn, or the absence of Dawn from life? Few would probably cry from the absence of my life because few know of it. Less would cry for the absence of life from me because I have none of it. And none would cry for the absence of me from life because I'm in no one's. These are thoughts I had as a teenager. I wrote that when I was about 16, 17, something like that. Now, it is a widespread myth that love has to hurt. It has been alleged for centuries that true love is disappointing, failing, full of heartache. This is not always true. Why would someone even want to believe it would be? It is a long, hard, and bumpy road when you consider this fable and allow yourself to carry around this type of lifeless love. Picture being a child and your bike goes down. It drags you across a rutted terrain, and as a result, you're cut up and bruised, feeling like you're near the end. Then your mom, in an attempt to soothe you, will say, "Oh, you'll be all right. You'll be okay." And you think, "Really, lady? Do you see all this blood?" Generally, your mom is right. You're okay. And you heal up and you go on. You might even get back on your bike, even though you know that that's the real culprit. But it's not really the same. Either you've lost your passion and your worry-free abandonment in the style that you were riding before when you fell, or you've lost the desire to get up on there and ride at all. On occasion, love can be kind of the same. Have you ever heard someone use the metaphor, "It's like riding a bike"? This can be true in several instances of dealing with the heart. What happens when your heart becomes bitter from the pangs of love gone wrong? See, mankind often feels that love's pain is too great for anyone to repair and restore. But who understands pain from love gone wrong better than God? If God can send his son to suffer through human flesh, be brutally killed and separated from him, and still love us, the reason that he needed to sacrifice him to begin with, I think he can mend our broken hearts too. There are several ways for love to spin and create its web of pain, but through them all is God. The world can often etch the design of a soured view of love through the frame of infidelity. Did the power of your love get so great that in the midst of lust and confusion, there were other lovers and undeserved words mixed in? This same story can be seen every night on a list of talk shows. God has the solution for that one too. Unrequited love, or not reciprocated love, is another rerun on the boob tube. This can be one of the strangest and yet safest dilemmas, resulting in heartache. Thousands upon thousands of movies and plays and music and books are marketed each year with this such story being depicted. It is a twisted whirlwind of tornado of emotions. Sometimes when we love someone, the power of love is greater than the person it is even intended for. Often we love the idea of being in love. That's what people say. Maybe we don't always feel that we're where our attentions are directed is being met with adequate affection or praise, guess what? God can relate. His efforts and love for us is not always returned to him the way he desires either. The love God has created and threaded into our existence has viability. It's not lifeless. The great love affair you seek is in God, and through him he will allow the immense love to spill over into every crevice of your life. This love I have described may seem like a myth to some, and for the rest of us who are bewildered by the concept, well, we might be familiar with that first depiction. The tainted love, the messed up love, the heartache, the pain, the way Satan wants us to believe love needs to be. Pull that wool from your eyes, little sheep. There is another way. Have you ever thought of the romantic possibility of true love? The kind that never breaks your heart, that is always faithful and respectful of your feelings. We got books about those too. What about a display of love that would be devoted and not even death could separate you? Imagine a love that would reverence your presence on a daily basis. God created such a love for you. He demonstrates it and even gives us an opportunity to act it out towards him. There are even rumors, maybe a special few people, who have waited and allowed God to manifest this type of love in their daily lives, leading them into their marriages. Maybe a few of us. The most intense love affair that I've ever had was the day that God found me. Young and already so bitter and cynical towards life, weather beaten by the turbulent waves of our culture, assuming death and awaiting the end. A more breathtaking time I will never experience. A more torrid episode I will never attain, such as the love affair with my Lord Jesus Christ. Experience life the way romance novels explain it, everyday existence. That storybook type of stuff about swirling heads and rushes of passion and love. The greatest lover and the greatest love I will ever receive resonates from Yahweh himself. When my love wavers, his love is unchanging. When waves creep upon our bond in an attempt to wash it away, our love is not lost. Though the surface may show an absence, the sands have been shifted and changed forever. I know the truth, and the way is my Jesus. Yet I have still fallen prey to my earthly stubbornness and still found myself at the hands of all kinds of misconceptions when the appeal of love has entered the scene. You see, I remember the pressures of a crush, and I've done a little crushing. I've felt the piercing ache of betrayal, and I've done some betraying. I felt the confusion of being sandwiched between an ex and a current friend who's trying to make stuff, exclusive with me. And I've felt the awkwardness of when a friend spots someone they have intentions for who has attentions directed towards me. All of these different things and all of these different ways that we mishandle our heart, it doesn't surpass what God can do. Through it all is God. When I had no one present to hold my hand or hug me close while my tears filled the sheets, God was omnipresent. When I was confused and didn't know why there were these tears, why did I receive this treatment? Or what is all this crap that I got to go through? Why? When I didn't know how I would get to the end stage of whatever pain I was feeling, God was omnipotent, all-knowing. And when I felt I was just a pawn with no real power or victory in my grasp, God was all-powerful. In our youth, we often search through friends, drugs, alcohol, sex, even sports or school activities to make us feel complete. In love or happy, we're trying to fill that void. We're trying to make it make sense. When one thing disappoints us, it makes us upset or frustrated with our reality. And as humans, we then just switch to something else to fill it. Maturity and a coming of age can produce a useless struggle to find true happiness and love in this world. Something we don't quite grasp is that this void, the feeling of sadness and of being incomplete, has been a part of our souls ever since Adam and Eve took their first bite into separation. Because that caused a separation from God, the one who makes us whole, and the reason we feel a void. Something is missing from our core being. We had something, and now it's gone. And nothing, no one, no thing can fill it or make us happy. Nothing but God and his infinite love can repair the rift. We control our happiness and joy. We control our sadness and despair. These are all decisions and choices we make on a daily basis for how our lives are going to be. When we realize that we need our void gapped, when we realize that our tear needs to be mended, God is available all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on holidays. It's time we take back our lives, put them on the right track, and let God reign, and he can make us happy. It's like being mad at your food for not filling your empty bellies when we never took it actually off the shelves in the grocery store and prepared it. In the same token, we can't be mad at the outside world or people for not making us happy when we never made preparations for our happiness. These preparations include such as being filled with an unspeakable joy that the world can't create and therefore can't take away. Hindsight being 2020, I realized all this to be true now. I realized that you can't make anyone else happy no matter what you do, especially if the joy is not already in them. Yet still, as a flawed human, as an emotional and controlling woman, I have been guilty of attempting such an impossible feat. A lot of us could be charged with the same crimes of love. While pining away, we usually try to think of how we could do more or what we could change to create love in our suitors' hearts. At times, our attempts to change, to do more, or to control our circumstances only leads to resentment and arguments. When things go unlike we planned, unlike we imagined, what if what I said or did, I didn't say or do? What would happen then? Would everything be okay? Would things have still gone wrong? Man, I can remember the times God has tapped me on my shoulder and just hushed my mouth. If it were not for God's interventions, there would be endless situations that would still have me wondering what might have been. Sometimes I rattled on even after his warnings, and yet still his grace and love swooped in to save the day and give me a peace. What is love? What is love? God is love, and all examples of true love can be found in him. Love sacrifices and does not judge. Love does not harbor ill intent or misdeeds. Confused love can often be jealous, vindictive, and painful. Contrary to popular belief, love does not hurt. But with true agape love, like the love of Jesus Christ, comes the purest form of joy, happiness, and peace. As humans, we will always pale in comparison with God. We will not reach perfection while our days are still earthly bound. But attempting to love others how God loves us is a correct first step to living free with an abundance of life flowing through our world. The best expression of spiritual love is through the Father and the Son. The greatest expression of worldly love is often through mothers. Even the half-hearted efforts of indolent mothers can determine the production or destruction of a child. Often you can succeed in life without the love or influence of a father, but rarely do people survive well in the world without some base of motherly love. The extent of a mother's love or lack of love defines a person's character for most of their lives. The first impression of how to love yourself is formed from how your mother or the substitute thereof loves you. That's where, once again, love must be presented in its unadulterated form, unconditional, without rules, limits, or strings attached. Love doesn't change when the intended person does. Love in the original design can and should always be like that of a new mother for her perfect bundle of joy. Love is an expression of joy and wonder. Love is a way to freely express the great whirl of butterflies and fireworks dancing in your spirit while looking at that loved one. Love is not a form of manipulation, but an expression of liberation. Love letters in the sand. We walk down the beach together, your hand in mine. And as the waves reach the shore and our footprints disappear, our love endures. Our love letters in the sand. They might not be much to look at, but they are the truest form. Love letters in the sand. Life. Okay.